Who wants pistachio scones? Scones are like a slightly sweet breakfast pastry, and these pistachio scones are packed with crunchy, delicious pistachios. If you've never made scones before, don't worry, it is way easier than you'd think. If you like this recipe, let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. First, we need to chop our pistachios. You can do this by hand, but I'm doing it in the food processor because I am lazy. The other thing we're gonna do is mix together our wet ingredients. So grab your soy or oat milk and add some apple cider vinegar and vanilla extract. Mix that up and then set it aside. The vinegar is gonna cause the milk to curdle, and that makes vegan buttermilk. Next, grab yourself a mixing bowl and add flour, a half cup of those chopped pistachios, sugar, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And then I'm adding a little bit of matcha for color because I feel like pistachio stuff is usually green, and matcha gives such a great green color. If you don't have matcha, you can skip this ingredient. Now this is one of the key steps for making fluffy, delicious scones. Grab some vegetable shortening or vegan butter, and then cut it into pieces and add it to the dry mixture. Then use clean hands to knead that together until it reaches the texture almost like beach sand. What's really important here is that the fat that you're adding needs to be cold. Cold ingredients is what makes for a great, light, fluffy scone. Once your butter is all incorporated into the dry mixture, add the wet ingredients to the dry, and then mix that together until you have a somewhat sticky dough that all stays together in a cohesive ball. Now pop that ball of dough in the freezer for about 20 minutes to chill, because the dough for scones loves to be cold. When the dough finishes chilling, transfer it to a lined baking sheet, then flatten it out into a 7-inch disc. Use a knife or a pastry cutter or a pizza cutter to slice it into 8 triangles. Space those out on the baking sheet because your scones are gonna puff up as they're baking, and then bake them at 425 for about 15 minutes. Depending on your oven, you might need a little less or a little more time, but you don't wanna overbake your scones. Meanwhile, let's make our quick glaze. The glaze is gonna add extra moisture to the scones, and it's also what's gonna help those crunchy pistachios stick to the top. Add a little bit of non-dairy milk to some powdered sugar and mix it until it reaches a pourable consistency. You don't want it to be too thin, like watery thin, but you also don't want it to be like a thick, spreadable texture. You want it to be pourable so you can drizzle it all over those scones. When the scones finish baking, let them cool completely before you glaze them. If you glaze them when they're still hot, that glaze is just gonna melt right off. So drizzle that glaze all over, and then generously sprinkle it with the remaining pistachios. These scones are fluffy and decadent, and they make a delicious breakfast or snack or even dessert. I hope that this video answered all of your questions about how to make these easy vegan pistachio scones. If you have any questions I didn't address, feel free to drop a comment. I am always happy to help. And don't forget to rate and subscribe. Happy cooking!